So moving on, then you signed with Orpheus,
Yeah.
and we have talked about this before, but I think it's interesting to share because that was the first I had heard of the label, and then later through Compton's Most Wanted with It's a Compton thing, they were also on Orpheus Records as well.
Right.
So for those that know the Brother Arab album or don't, they should look it up, of course, and listen to it and support it. But that being said, what was Orpheus Records? How did you get down with them, and how did that work?
So that was an EMI joint. It was a company that was signed under EMI out of New York. And I had met them when I was at EMI because I was producing a lot of other stuff at the same time. So they was like, man, what do you want to do now that you done left this? Well, I don't care, man. I'll just produce and just, kick back, because I'm not that, I ain't never been the guy that wanted to be a superstar or famous. I just want to create music and make beats and do my thing. So if I got a hit, if I'm on, if I'm like the biggest rapper on planet Earth, cool. If I ain't cool, ain't no big deal. It's all about business for me. I do something, I want to get paid. I do something, I want to get paid. So that's what I was doing. And they reached out to me. It's like, hey, well, we got money and we're starting this Orpheus thing out here. Do you want to come over and do something? And I was like, well, as long as I can do whatever I want to do. And they just let me do what I wanted to do. So I didn't want to copy N.W.A because I came from that, or go and do that thing. I just kind of did an album of what I felt I wanted to do.
And obviously there was the business element, and creatively, the Brother Arab album is very different thematically. It's not the profanity laden violence and all that stuff that N.W.A had. So as a person, did it feel more artistically fulfilling to make that than to be making songs like Straight Out, or be around when songs were being made like Straight Out Compton and Gangster?
I mean, I come from Compton, so I was good with both. Okay. But I wasn't that, I wasn't no gang. Well, I was a gangbanger for like 2 days. We'll talk about that story later. A day and a half, like a fake gangbanger. But no, I ain't never been. I grew up in the hood. My uncles and cousins was all crazy, and they was all stomping, doing their thing. But I was more into football at the time and being creative. So for me to just do what I wanted to do and to be able to feel like I can just rap how I want to rap or do the songs I want to do, it was cool, and I made a lot of money because it was 100% me, and that's what a lot of people don't understand.
It's a big difference.
It's a big difference when you're in a group and you're not getting paid in that group. That's the worst feeling in the world, being in N.W.A, and we supposed to be gangsters and we getting gangstered. You know what I mean? We get ripped off. Like, what? So for me to go and make 100% of my money was really, really cool to go do. And that's what I've done ever since then. And I even teach a music business class now that I teach the up and coming people to let them know, like, yeah, you can go get you a major record contract, but you got to take care of your business. Business is the first, that's why they call it the music business. People forget about the business. They talk about music. It's music business.
Yeah, it's 50% of the work, of the name.
Yeah.
And then as you're, well, let's get into She's Got a Big Posse, because one of the, obviously that's the big single off the record, but the other thing that I thought was interesting, that was one of those earlier records in rap that was self-deprecating a little bit, or if not a little bit, a lot.
Yeah.
So what made you want to evaluate yourself in a relationship to where you weren't like, oh, I got 57 girls or whatever it was? What made you take that angle lyrically?
Well, I wanted to take rap a little less serious, because it started to get too crazy, and right around that time with the whole N.W.A thing, that was at the time when because Cube left right after me. And that's when Cube and Dre was going at it, and Cube and N.W.A was going at it, and then there was some little rumblings between Eazy and Dre, and then on the East Coast, from the East Coast West, it was all kind of stuff going on, and I didn't want to get caught up into that, because I'm like, dude, it's just music.
Right.
It's all about music. So I didn't want to kind of take a lot of stuff really, really lightly, and if you listen to the album, there's a lot of funny stuff on the album that's just whatever it is. So for me, I'm like, this is who I am. I'm representing me how I am, and there it is.
And I think too, with the comedy or comedic elements of it, with the Bobby Jimmy and the Critters, and even the Fat Girl, like all these records that were pre-Straight Outta Compton records, like what do you think, why do you think that the West Coast in particular didn't, even I Ain't the One, there's funny, that's a funny record if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
So why do you think that the West Coast or LA rappers in particular don't get as much credit or acknowledgement or what have you for injecting that? Eazy does it. There's a lot of hilarious stuff on that record. So why do you think that that isn't more recognized or appreciated for what you guys did?
I think maybe one reason because the persona of an N.W.A, you know, or West Coast rappers was more street.
Okay.
And, you know, if you look at like a Bismarcky's not really street. Even though he came from the streets, he's more comedy. You know, the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff, they're more comedy. What was Dana Dane and all of them? They had a little more comedy side on them. And I think it was just, you kind of want to, people always want to erase part of who you are for what they feel is the most important part, which was that street cred or whatever it was at the time. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of, like, Ice-T is funny in the motherfucker.
Right.
You know what I mean? Ice-T is funny. But a lot of times people forget about the funny stuff and just kind of focus on the hardcore gangster stuff or the street stuff because everybody's trying to be hardcore or street or gangster or what have you. You know, I'm just trying to be me.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
And then you being you has led you to do so many things beyond music and beyond rap, not only back then, but even to now. So as your career progressed, what avenues did you see were important for you to explore that you did explore outside of music? Well,
a lot of people don't know, I've been doing technology for 38 years. Like the same amount of time I've been doing music, I've been doing tech. Like when we were on tour, man, I had laptops when there were no laptops. Like literally there were no laptops. Like the first ever laptop came out I had on tour. And you know, you had to actually be, and Dre could tell you this too, you had to actually be damn near a computer rocket scientist to make a sequencer work in the studio. You had to know SMPTE, CV gate, you know, MIDI. Matter of fact, this was pre-MIDI, a lot of this stuff. But my first Roland Juno 60 didn't have MIDI.
Okay.
Zero MIDI. You know, so if you wanted to sync it up with a reel-to-reel, that's tape for y'all out there who don't know what tape is. You had to know SMPTE and CV gate and all of these other things. So you kind of had to get into computers and stuff like that way early, and I just fell in love with it and got into doing computer animation and special effects and video games. So I've been doing that for 30-something years, man, and making way more money than music, you know what I mean? Because I figured it out.
Right. And as you got into it, what creatively did you find you get different from that than you do from DJing or producing or being an artist?
Well, one thing in the music business, I mean, and when you're dealing with like movies and video games and stuff like that, they pay you right away.
Okay.
They make sure you get paid. So that's one thing I found out. And there was a whole lot of money, like, because you didn't have to wait for royalties and stuff like that. If you worked on a film or you worked on a video game, it's almost work for hire. So they're paying you, and they're paying you a lot of money because they don't want it to go wrong, and they want to make sure they have all the rights. So when they put it out, there ain't nothing holding it up. So I love that fact. And the fact that I was able to be, once again, creative on what I was doing, you know, creating video game content or, you know, special effects or video, you know, doing 3D animation and stuff like that. So I really love that whole part of it. And then that parlayed me into doing, you know, tech companies from, you know, working with companies doing artificial intelligence and machine learning now and all that crazy stuff. That's what's next coming down the pipe. So.
And I also know you have a few things in development.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak on them yet.
I can speak on it. Yeah. So there's one crazy thing, man. So I go to pretty much every convention. My homeboy here, Kelly Keys over there, we go to all these conventions every year. We hit up, you know, CES, NAB, NAMM, E3. E3 is the big video game convention that everybody's trying to get in. And every year I go with my partner companies. I got a lot of big partner companies like Microsoft and other companies I deal with. And I met this French company, man. They got this thing called M-Cable, and it's the craziest thing. So somebody introduced me from Monster, was like, you need to meet them. I'm like, all right. They made a HDMI cable. This is gonna blow your mind because they made an HDMI cable with a computer chip in it. Right?
Okay.
And they spent $40 million on this chip to make the chip. And you plug this HDMI cable into your gaming system or your TV, and it will up-res all your content to 4K. Because as we know, and everybody in the television who sell TVs gonna get mad at me, but everybody in their house got 4K TVs, but y'all ain't looking at 4K. So when you put that 4K TV in your house, it's like, look at the graphics, look at the resolution. You still looking at 1080p,
right?
Unless you actually are looking at a 4K movie or a Blu-ray or something like that. But if you're looking at regular TV, it's not 4K.
It's still 1080.
So what this cable does is it takes that footage or that content or those video game graphics, and it actually redraws every pixel and upgrades that to 4K.
Wow.
So I met them, and I'm like, that's some dope-ass technology, but the issue was a lot of people, they're selling, don't get me wrong, the cables are selling, but it's not blowing off the shelf because it's hard to get people to wrap their heads around spending $100 and some for a cable, an HDMI cable. So I met with them, we partnered up, and I'm taking that chip and I'm putting it in devices that actually plug directly into video game systems, and we're actually gonna make something for the Nintendo Switch that allows a Nintendo Switch to be 4K.
Wow.
And that's big money right there.
That's billions right
Oh yeah, there you go. So we actually are in the development of that. Ain't nobody heard. You got this first.
Okay.
We ain't even leaked this, so I'm giving this to you first. But it's coming like, boom, like next month or so, man. We're going to be ready to rock and roll on this. We're already in manufacturing, so.
That's big.
Yeah.
And then musically, what are you working on now?
Man, I'm working on, finally, man, people have been killing me. So, you know, I'm Professor X on the electro tip. And I've dropped a couple singles over the years, and even recently, the past couple years, I've dropped a single, and it's mostly for Europe because they really into that electro over there, and we call it electro funk or whatever you want to call it. So everybody's been trying to get me to finish up a Professor X album, so that's almost done. Like it's technically done, but I got some things I need to do to it, so I'm dropping that probably either end of the year or it's almost end of the year now, beginning of the year. A Professor X album is coming, and then I'm trying to get my boy Unknown DJ and my other homie DJ Slip, because we used to be called the X-Men, to come back and drop something. And then I'm working on like a super duper top secret product, you know, thing over in the EDM space. I'm working on a lot of EDM stuff now, because that's what I DJ, a lot of that stuff when I tour.
Well, there it is.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, Arabian Prince.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Soren Baker in the building here on Unique Access, Arabian Prince.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence, thanks to gangster rap. Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
'Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap, written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.